Ruth in Exil. A short story written by P.G. Wodehouse and read for you in both Indonesian and English. Please support us by hitting the like button and subscribe. Now please enjoy the story. The clock struck 5 briskly, as if time were money.
Jam menunjuk pukul 5. Cepat, seolah waktu adalah uang.
Ruth Warden got up from her desk and, having put on her hat, emerged into the outer office where M. Gandinot received visitors.
Ruth Warden bangkit dari mejanya dan, setelah mengenakan topi, melangkah ke ruang luar tempat M. Gandinot menerima tamu.
M. Gandinot, the ugliest man in Roville-sur-Mer, presided over the local Montepillet, and Ruth served him from 10 to 5 as a sort of secretary clerk.
M. Gandinot, pria paling jelek di Roville-sur-Mer, memimpin pegadaian setempat, dan Ruth bekerja padanya, dari pukul 10 sampai 5, sebagai semacam sekretaris juru tulis.
Her duties, if monotonous, were simple.
Tugasnya, meski monoton, cukup sederhana.
They consisted of sitting, detached and invisible, behind a ground glass screen, and entering details of loans in a fat book.
Tugas itu berupa duduk terpisah dan tak terlihat, di balik kaca buram, sambil mencatat rincian pinjaman dalam sebuah buku tebal.
She was kept busy as a rule, for Roville possesses 2 casinos, each offering the attraction of Petit Chevaux, and just round the corner is Monte Carlo.
Ia biasanya sibuk, karena Roville memiliki 2 kasino, masing-masing menawarkan permainan Petit Chevaux, dan di tikungan dekat situ ada Monte Carlo.
Very brisk was the business done by M. Gandinot, the pawnbroker, and very frequent were the pitying shakes of the head and clicks of the tongue of M. Gandinot the man, for in his unofficial capacity Ruth's employer had a gentle soul, and winced at the evidences of tragedy which presented themselves before his official eyes.
Sangat ramai bisnis yang dijalankan M. Gandinot, si pemilik pegadaian, dan seringkali ia menggelengkan kepala penuh iba serta berdecak lidah, sebab di balik perannya yang resmi, majikan Ruth memiliki jiwa lembut dan meringis melihat bukti-bukti tragedi yang muncul di hadapan mata resminya.
He blinked up at Ruth as she appeared, and Ruth, as she looked at him, was conscious, as usual, of a lightening of the depression which, nowadays, seemed to have settled permanently upon her.
Ia berkedip ke arah Ruth saat gadis itu muncul, dan Ruth, ketika memandangnya, merasakan, seperti biasa, bahwa kesuraman yang akhir-akhir ini seakan terus menempel padanya jadi sedikit mereda.
The peculiar quality of M. Gandinot's extraordinary countenance was that it induced mirth, not mocking laughter, but a kind of smiling happiness.
Ciri khas dari wajah M. Gandinot yang luar biasa adalah ia membangkitkan kesan ceria, bukan tawa mengejek, melainkan kebahagiaan yang membuat tersenyum.
It possessed that indefinable quality which characterizes the Billiken, due, perhaps, to the unquenchable optimism which shone through the irregular features, for M. Gandinot, despite his calling, believed in his fellow-man.
Wajahnya punya kualitas tak terjabarkan yang mirip Billiken, mungkin karena optimisme yang tak padam terpancar lewat rautnya yang tidak teratur, sebab M. Gandinot, walau profesinya demikian, tetap percaya pada sesama manusia.
You are going, mademoiselle.
Apakah Anda akan pergi, Nona?
As Ruth was wearing her hat and making for the door, and as she always left at this hour, a purist might have considered the question superfluous, but M. Gandinot was a man who seized every opportunity of practicing his English.
Karena Ruth sudah mengenakan topi dan menuju ke pintu, seperti biasanya pada jam itu, seorang penganut tata bahasa ketat mungkin menganggap pertanyaan itu berlebihan, tetapi M. Gandinot adalah pria yang memanfaatkan setiap kesempatan untuk melatih bahasa Inggrisnya.
You will not wait for the good papa who calls so regularly for you?
Anda tidak akan menunggu papa baik hati yang rutin menjemput Anda.
I think I won't today, M. Gandinot. I want to get out into the air. I have rather a headache. Will you tell my father I have gone to the promenade?
Saya rasa tidak hari ini, M.
Gandinot.
Saya ingin keluar mencari udara segar. Kepala saya agak pusing. Tolong beritahu ayah saya bahwa saya pergi ke promenade.
M. Gandinot sighed as the door closed behind her.
Gandinot menarik napas panjang ketika pintu tertutup di belakang gadis itu.
Ruth's depression had not escaped his notice.
Kesedihan Ruth tidak luput dari perhatiannya.
He was sorry for her.
Ia merasa kasihan padanya.
And not without cause, for fate had not dealt too kindly with Ruth.
Dan memang wajar, karena nasib tidak terlalu baik padanya.
It would have amazed Mr. Eugene Warden, that genial old gentleman, if, on one of those occasions of manly emotion when he was in the habit of observing that he had been nobody's enemy but his own, somebody had hinted that he had spoiled his daughter's life.
Tentu akan membuat Tuan Eugene Warden, pria tua yang ramah itu, heran sekali, jika di salah satu saat penuhnya emosi pria, saat ia suka berkata bahwa ia tak pernah menjadi musuh siapapun selain dirinya sendiri, seseorang menyiratkan bahwa ia telah menghancurkan hidup putrinya.
Such a thought had never entered his head.
Pikiran semacam itu tak pernah terlintas di benaknya.
He was one of those delightful, irresponsible, erratic persons whose heads thoughts of this kind do not enter, and who are about as deadly to those whose lives are bound up with theirs as a upas tree.
Ia termasuk salah satu orang menyenangkan, tak bertanggung jawab, dan tak menentu, yang kepalanya tak pernah dihampiri pikiran semacam itu, dan yang bisa sama mematikannya bagi orang-orang yang hidupnya terikat dengannya seperti pohon upas.
In the memory of his oldest acquaintance, Ruth's father had never done anything but drift amiably through life.
Sepanjang ingatan orang-orang paling lama mengenalnya, ayah Ruth tak pernah melakukan apa-apa selain mengalir tenang mengikuti hidup.
There had been a time when he had done his drifting in London, feeding cheerfully from the hand of a long-suffering brother-in-law.
Pernah ada masa ketika ia melakukannya di London, hidup gembira dari uluran tangan saudara iparnya yang sudah lama menanggung beban.
But though blood, as he was wont to remark while negotiating his periodical loans, is thicker than water, a brother-in-law's affection has its limits.
Namun meskipun darah, seperti sering ia kemukakan saat merundingkan pinjamannya yang rutin, lebih kental daripada air, kasih sayang saudara ipar tetap ada batasnya.
A day came when Mr. Warden observed with pain that his relative responded less nimbly to the touch.
Suatu hari tibalah saat Tuan Warden menyadari dengan pedih bahwa kerabatnya makin lambat merespons sentuhannya.
And a little while later, the other delivered his ultimatum.
Dan tak lama kemudian, kerabat itu menyampaikan ultimatum.
Mr. Warden was to leave England, and to stay away from England, to behave as if England no longer existed on the map, and a small but sufficient allowance would be made to him.
Tuan Warden harus meninggalkan Inggris, dan terus menjauhinya, bersikap seolah Inggris sudah tak ada di peta, dan ia akan diberi tunjangan kecil tapi cukup.
If he declined to do this, not another penny of the speaker's money would he receive.
Jika menolak, ia tak akan mendapat sepeser pun lagi dari uang si pemberi ultimatum.
He could choose. He chose.
Ia memilihnya. Ia meninggalkan Inggris, dan Ruth ikut bersamanya.
They settled in Roville, that haven of the exile who lives upon remittances.
Mereka menetap di Roville, tempat perlindungan para perantau yang hidup dari kiriman uang.
Ruth's connection with the Montepillet had come about almost automatically.
Keterlibatan Ruth dengan pegadaian itu terjadi hampir tanpa direncanakan.
Very soon after their arrival, it became evident that, to a man of Mr. Warden's nature, resident a stone's throw distant from two casinos, the small allowance was not likely to go very far.
Tak lama setelah kedatangan mereka, menjadi jelas bahwa, bagi pria seperti Tuan Warden, yang tinggal sepelemparan batu dari 2 kasino, tunjangan kecil itu takkan cukup lama bertahan.
Even if Ruth had not wished to work, circumstances would have compelled her.
Bahkan kalaupun Ruth tak ingin bekerja, keadaannya akan memaksanya.
As it was, she longed for something to occupy her, and the vacancy at the Montepillet occurring, she had snatched at it.
Dalam kenyataannya, ia memang ingin sesuatu untuk menyibukkannya, dan ketika lowongan di pegadaian itu muncul, ia langsung menyambarnya.
There was a certain fitness in her working there.
Ada kecocokan tertentu dengan pekerjaannya di sana.
Business transactions with that useful institution had always been conducted by her, it being Mr. Warden's theory that woman can extract in these crises just that extra franc or two which is denied to the mere male.
Transaksi bisnis dengan lembaga berguna itu selalu ditangani olehnya, sebab menurut teori Tuan Warden, wanita bisa meraih tambahan 1 atau 2 franc di saat genting yang tak bisa diperoleh pria biasa.
Through constantly going round, running across, stepping over, and popping down to the Montepilot, she had established almost a legal claim on any post that might be vacant there.
Karena begitu sering bolak-balik, menyeberang, melangkah, dan turun ke Pegadaian, ia seakan hampir memiliki hak resmi atas posisi apapun yang mungkin kosong di sana.
And under M. Gandenot's banner she had served ever since.
Dan sejak itu, ia bekerja di bawah bendera M.
Gandinot. 5 minutes' walk took her to the Promenade de Anglais, that apparently endless thoroughfare which is Roville's pride.
Berjalan kaki 5 menit membawanya ke Promenade des Anglais, jalan yang seolah tak berujung, kebanggaan Roville.
The evening was fine and warm. Sor itu Siradan hanget.
The sun shone gaily on the Weitwallet Huses, the Bricht Gardens, and the 2 gleaming casinos.
Matahari bersinar riang di atas rumah-rumah berdinding putih, taman yang berseri, dan 2 kasino yang berkilauan.
But Ruth walked listlessly, blind to the glitter of it all.
Namun Ruth melangkah tanpa semangat, tak peduli pada segala gemerlap itu.
Visitors who go to Roville for a few weeks in the winter are apt to speak of the place, on their return, in a manner that conveys the impression that it is a paradise on earth, with gambling facilities thrown in.
Para pengunjung yang datang ke Roville selama beberapa minggu di musim dingin cenderung bercerita sekembalinya mereka seolah tempat itu adalah surga di bumi, ditambah fasilitas judi.
But then they are visitors.
Tapi, mereka hanyalah pengunjung.
Their sojourn comes to an end.
Masa tinggal mereka berakhir.
Ruth's did not.
Sementara milik Ruth tidak.
A voice spoke her name.
Sebuah suara menyebut namanya.
She turned and saw her father, dapper as ever, standing beside her.
Ia menoleh dan melihat ayahnya, tetap rapi seperti biasa, berdiri di sisinya.
What an evening, my dear,
said Mr. Warden.
What an evening. Smell the sea.
Betapa sore yang indah, sayang.
Kata Tuan Warden.
Sungguh indah. Hirup udara laut ini.
Mr. Warden appeared to be in high spirits.
Tuan Warden tampak bersemangat sekali.
He hummed a tune and twirled his cane.
Ia bersenandung dan memutar tongkat jalannya.
He chirruped frequently to Bill, the companion of his walks abroad, a wiry fox terrier of a demeanor, like his master's, both jaunty and slightly disreputable.
Ia sering bersiul memanggil Bill, sahabat jalan-jalannya, seekor fox terrier kurus dengan perilaku yang mirip pemiliknya, ceria dan agak kurang terhormat.
An air of gaiety pervaded his bearing.
Sikapnya dipenuhi suasana riang.
I called in at the Montepilot, but you had gone. Gandenot told me you had come here. What an ugly fellow that Gandenot is. But a good sort. I like him. I had a chat with him.
Saya mampir ke Pegadaian, tapi kamu sudah pergi. Gandinot bilang kamu ke sini. Dia betul-betul jelek, ya. Tapi orangnya baik. Saya suka dia. Tadi saya sempat mengobrol dengannya.
The high spirits were explained.
Kegembiraannya pun terjelaskan.
Ruth knew her father.
Ruth sudah paham sifat ayahnya.
She guessed correctly that M. Gandenot, kindest of pawnbrokers, had obliged, in his unofficial capacity, with a trifling loan.
Ia menebak dengan tepat bahwa M. Gandinot, Pegadaian paling baik hati, telah membantunya secara tidak resmi dengan pinjaman kecil.
Gandenot ought to go on the stage, went on Mr. Warden, pursuing his theme.
Gandinot seharusnya tampil di panggung, lanjut Tuan Warden, melanjutkan topiknya.
With that face he would make his fortune.
You can't help liking when you see it.
One of these days.
Dengan wajah seperti itu, dia bisa meraup kekayaan. Kamu pasti tertawa begitu melihatnya. Suatu hari nanti. Ia terhenti berbicara.
Stirring things had begun to occur in the neighborhood of his ankles, where Bill, the fox terrier, had encountered an acquaintance, and to the accompaniment of a loud, gargling noise, was endeavoring to bite his head off.
Hal heboh mulai terjadi di sekitar pergelangan kakinya, tempat Bill, si fox terrier, bertemu seekor kenalan anjing lain, dan dengan suara menggelegak yang keras, Bill berusaha menggigit kepala si kenalan.
The acquaintance, a gentleman of uncertain breed, equally willing, was chewing Bill's paw with the gusto of a gourmet.
Sie kenalan, anjing kemperen tak jelas, yang sama agresifnya, sedang menggigiti kaki Bill denken selera bagaikan seorang penikmat makanan lezat.
An Irish terrier, with no personal bias towards either side, was dancing round and attacking each in turn as he came uppermost.
Seekor anjing iris terrier, tanpa memihak siapapun, berlarian di sekitar mereka dan menyerang setiap anjing yang kebetulan berada di atas.
And two poodles leaped madly in and out of the melee, barking encouragement.
Den dua ekor pudel melompat-lompat kae dalam den kae luar keributan, menialak memberi semangat.
It takes a better man than Mr. Warden to break up a gathering of this kind.
Butuh orang lebih tangguh daripada Tuan Warden untuk menghentikan kerumunan semacam ini.
The old gentleman was bewildered.
Pria tua itu kebingungan.
He added his voice to the babble, and twice smote Bill grievously with his cane with blows intended for the acquaintance, but beyond that he effected nothing.
Ia turut menambah kebisingan dengan suaranya, dan 2 kali memukulkan tongkatnya ke Bill dengan maksud memukul si kenalan, tapi tak ada yang tercapai selain itu.
It seemed probable that the engagement would last till the combatants had consumed each other, after the fashion of the Kilkenny cats, when there suddenly appeared from nowhere a young man in grey.
Sepertinya perkelahian itu akan berlanjut sampai para pelaku saling melahap, seperti kucing-kucing Kilkenny, ketika tiba-tiba muncul entah dari mana seorang pemuda berpakaian abu-abu.
The world is divided into those who can stop dogfights and those who cannot.
Dunia terbagi menjadi mereka yang bisa menghentikan perkelahian anjing dan yang tidak bisa.
The young man in grey belonged to the former class.
Pemuda berjas abu-abu itu termasuk kelompok pertama.
Within a minute from his entrance on the scene, the poodles and the Irish terrier had vanished. The dog of doubtful breed was moving off up the hill, yelping, with the dispatch of one who remembers an important appointment, and Bill, miraculously calmed, was seated in the center of the promenade, licking honorable wounds.
Dalam 1 menit sejak ia datang, anjing-anjing pudel dan iris terrier itu sudah menghilang. Anjing campuran tak jelas lari ke atas bukit sambil melengking seperti mengingat janji penting. Dan Bill, entah bagaimana sudah tenang, duduk di tengah promenade menjilati luka-luka terhormatnya.
Mr. Warden was disposed to effervesce with gratitude.
Tuan Warden nyaris meledak dengan rasa syukur.
The scene had shaken him, and there had been moments when he had given his ankles up for lost.
Kejadian itu membuatnya terguncang, dan ada saat-saat ia merasa pergelangan kakinya pasti hancur.
Don't mention it, said the young man.
Ah, tak perlu disyukuri, kata pemuda itu.
I enjoy arbitrating in these little disputes.
Saya senang menengahi perselisihan kecil semacam ini.
Dogs seem to like me and trust my judgment.
Anjing-anjing sepertinya menyukai saya dan percaya pada penilaian saya.
I consider myself as a sort of honorary dog.
Saya anggap diri saya semacam anjing kehormatan.
Well, I am bound to say, mister.
Baiklah, saya harus bilang, Tuan.
Vince, George Vince. Mein Name ist Warden. Mai Daukhater. Nama saya Warden.
Ini putri saya.
Ruth inclined her head, and was conscious of a pair of very penetrating brown eyes looking eagerly into hers in a manner which she thoroughly resented.
Ruth mengangguk pelan, dan ia sadar sepasang mata coklat tajam menatap matanya dengan cara yang membuatnya sangat kesal.
She was not used to the other sex meeting her gaze and holding it as if confident of a friendly welcome.
Ia tak terbiasa laki-laki menatapnya begitu, seakan yakin akan sambutan ramah.
She made up her mind in that instant that this was a young man who required suppression.
Ia langsung memutuskan bahwa pemuda ini perlu ditaklukkan.
I've seen you several times out here since I arrived, Miss Warden, said Mr. Vince. 4 in all, he added, precisely.
4 kali tepatnya, ia menambahkan dengan tegas.
Really, said Ruth. She looked away.
Ia memalingkan wajah.
Her attitude seemed to suggest that she had finished with him, and would be obliged if somebody would come and sweep him up.
Sikapnya seolah menunjukkan bahwa ia sudah cukup dengan pemuda itu, dan berharap seseorang segera datang untuk menyingkirkannya.
As they approached the casino, restlessness crept into Mr. Warden's manner.
Ketika mereka mendekati kasino, kegelisahan mulai muncul dalam sikap Tuan Warden.
At the door he stopped and looked at Ruth.
Di pintu masuk, ia berhenti dan memandang Ruth.
I think, my dear, he said. Saya kira, sayang, katanya. Going to have a dash at the Petit Chevaux? Inquired Mr. Vince.
Mau coba peruntungan di Petit Chevaux?
Tanya Tuan Vince.
Saya baru saja dari sana.
I have an infallible system.
Saya punya sistem yang tak pernah gagal.
Warden started like Avahors at the sound of the trumpet.
Tuan Warden terlonjak bak kuda perang yang mendengar suara trompet.
Only it's infallible the wrong way, went on the young man.
Hanya saja sistem itu tak pernah gagal dengan cara yang salah, lanjut sang pemuda.
Well, I wish you luck.
Nah, saya doakan beruntung.
Il see Miss Warden home.
Saya akan menemani Nona Warden pulang.
Please don't trouble, said Ruth, in the haughty manner which had frequently withered unfortunate fellow exiles in their tracks.
Tidak usah repot, kata Ruth, dengan sikap angkuh yang sering membuat rekan-rekan pengasing malang terdiam.
It had no such effect on Mr. Vince. Hal itu tak berdampak sedikit pun pada Tuan Vince. Saya senang melakukannya, ia berkata. Ruth set her teeth. Ruth mengatakan giginya. She would see whether he would like it.
Ia akan lihat apakah pemuda itu benar-benar senang.
They left Mr. Warden, who shot in at the casino door like a homing rabbit, and walked on in silence, which lasted till Ruth, suddenly becoming aware that her companion's eyes were fixed on her face, turned her head, to meet a gaze of complete, not to say loving, admiration.
Mereka meninggalkan Tuan Warden, yang melesat ke pintu kasino seperti kelinci pulang kandang, dan melanjutkan berjalan dalam diam, sampai Ruth, yang tiba-tiba sadar bahwa mata pemuda itu menatap wajahnya, menoleh, dan bertemu pandangan penuh kekaguman total, tak bisa dibilang tidak mesra.
She flushed.
Wajahnya memerah.
She was accustomed to being looked at admiringly, but about this particular look there was a subtle quality that distinguished it from the ordinary, something proprietorial.
Ia sudah biasa dipandang dengan kagum, tapi tatapan yang satu ini berbeda. Ada sentuhan seolah ia adalah milik si penatap.
Mr. Vince appeared to be a young man who wasted no time on conventional conversation openings.
Tuan Vince tampak sebagai pemuda yang tak suka membuang waktu dengan pembuka obrolan biasa.
Do you believe in affinities, Miss Warden? He said.
Apakah Anda percaya pada konsep jodoh sejati, Nona Warden?
Tanyanya. No, said Ruth.
Tidak, jawab Ruth.
You will before we've done, said Mr. Vince, confidently. Why did you try to snub me just now?
Did I? Apakah begitu?
You mustn't again.
Jangan ulangi lagi.
It hurts me.
Itu menyakiti saya.
I'm a sensitive man. Saya orang yang sensitif. Diffident. Pemalu.
Suatu hari Anda akan percaya, kata Tuan Finch, penuh keyakinan.
Mengapa tadi Anda berusaha memadamkan saya begitu? Epsilon. Miss Warden, will you marry me?
Nona Warden, maukah Anda menikah dengan saya?
Ruth had determined that nothing should shake her from her icy detachment, but this did.
Ruth telah memutuskan tak ada yang bisa mengguncang sikap dinginnya, tapi hal ini melakukannya.
She stopped with a gasp and stared at him.
Ia berhenti terkejut dan menatap pemuda itu.
Vince schuret her.
Tuan Finch menenangkannya.
I don't expect you to say yes.
Saya tidak mengharapkan Anda langsung bilang, ya.
That was just a beginning, the shot fired across the bows by way of warning. Itu Hanya Permulon, Tembakan Peringatan. In you, Miss Warden, I have found my affinity.
Dalam diri Anda, Nona Warden, saya menemukan jodoh sejati saya.
Have you ever considered this matter of affinities?
Pernahkah Anda memikirkan soal jodoh sejati ini?
Affinities are the wait a moment.
Jodoh sejati itu adalah, tunggu sebentar.
He paused, reflecting.
Ia berhenti, berpikir.
Began Ruth.
Saya, Ruth mulai bicara.
Sach, said the young man, holding up his hand.
SST, kata pemuda itu, mengangkat tangannya.
Ruths Eisfläschet. Mata Ruth Berkilat. She was not used to having SH said to her by young men, and she resented it.
Ia tidak terbiasa dibungkam, SST. Oleh pria muda, dan itu membuatnya kesal.
I've got it, he declared, with relief.
Saya menemukannya, katanya lega.
I knew I should, but these good things take time.
Saya yakin bakal ketemu, tapi hal bagus butuh waktu.
Affinities are the zero on the roulette board of life.
Jodoh sejati itu adalah 0 di papan roulette kehidupan.
Just as we select a number on which to stake our money, so do we select a type of girl whom we think we should like to marry.
Seperti kita memilih angka tempat menaruh uang kita, begitu pula kita memilih tipe gadis yang kita rasa ingin kita nikahi.
And just as 0 pops up instead of the number, so does our affinity come along and upset all our preconceived notions of the type of girl we should like to marry.
Dan sama seperti 0 bisa muncul menggantikan angka yang kita pilih, demikian pula jodoh kita datang dan meruntuhkan segala bayangan kita akan tipe gadis yang ingin kita nikahi.
Began Ruth again. Saya, kata Ruth lagi. The analogy is in the rough at present.
Analogi itu masih kasar saat ini.
I haven't had time to condense and polish it.
Saya belum sempat merapikan dan memolesnya.
But you see the idea.
Tapi Anda mengerti idenya.
Take my case, for instance.
Ambil contoh kasus saya.
When I saw you a couple of days ago, I knew in an instant that you were my affinity.
Waktu saya melihat Anda 2 hari lalu, saya langsung tahu bahwa Anda adalah jodoh sejati saya.
But for years I had been looking for a woman, almost your exact opposite.
Padahal bertahun-tahun saya mencari perempuan yang hampir kebalikan Anda. Anda berambut gelap.
3 days ago, I couldn't have imagined myself marrying anyone who was not fair.
3 hari lalu, saya tak pernah membayangkan menikah dengan seseorang yang bukan berambut pirang.
Your eyes are gray.
Mata Anda berwarna abu-abu.
3 days ago, my preference for blue eyes was a byword.
3 hari lalu, kesukaan saya pada mata biru sudah terkenal.
You have a shocking temper.
Anda memiliki temperamen yang mengejutkan. 3 hari lalu.
Mr. Vince. Tuan Vince. There, said that philosopher complacently.
Itu dia, kata si filsuf, puas.
You stammt. Anda membentak. The gentle blue-eyed blonde whom I was looking for 3 days ago would have drooped timidly.
Gadis pirang bermata birunan lembut yang saya cari 3 hari lalu pasti akan menunduk malu.
3 days ago my passion for timid droopers amounted to an obsession.
3 hari lalu, kegemaran saya pada gadis pemalu sudah mencapai titik obsesi.
Ruth did not reply.
Ruth tak menjawab.
It was useless to bandy words with one who gave such clear evidence of being something out of the common run of word bandiers.
Tak ada gunanya berdebat kata-kata dengan orang yang jelas sangat berbeda dari perdebatan biasanya.
No verbal attack could crush this extraordinary young man.
Tak ada serangan kata-kata yang mampu menundukkan pemuda luar biasa ini.
She walked on, all silence and stony profile, uncomfortably conscious that her companion was in no way abashed by the former and was regarding the latter with that frank admiration which had made itself so obnoxious to her before, until they reached their destination.
Ia terus berjalan, bungkam dan berwajah kaku, sambil merasa tidak nyaman menyadari bahwa temannya sama sekali tidak terintimidasi oleh kebisuannya dan justru menatap profilnya dengan kekaguman terang-terangan yang sejak tadi mengganggunya, sampai mereka tiba di tujuan.
Mr. Vince, meanwhile, chatted cheerfully, and pointed out objects of interest by the wayside.
Tuan Vinci, sementara itu, terus ngobrol dengan riang dan menunjuk hal-hal menarik di sepanjang jalan.
At the door Ruth permitted herself a word of farewell.
Di depan pintu, Ruth mengizinkan dirinya bicara sepatah kata perpisahan.
Till tomorrow evening, Said Mr. Vince.
Saya akan datang untuk makan malam.
Mr. Warden ambled home, very happy and contented, 2 hours later, with half a franc in his pocket, this comparative wealth being due to the fact that the minimum stake permitted by the Rowville Casino is just double that sum.
2 jam kemudian, Tuan Warden pulang perlahan, sangat gembira dan puas, dengan setengah franc di sakunya. Kekayaan relatif ini karena taruhan minimum yang diizinkan di Kasino Rowville adalah tepat 2 kali jumlah itu.
He was sorry not to have one, but his mind was too full of rosy dreams to permit of remorse.
Ia menyesal tak menang, tapi pikirannya terlalu penuh impian indah untuk menyesalinya.
It was the estimable old gentleman's dearest wish that his daughter should marry some rich, open-handed man who would keep him in affluence for the remainder of his days, and to that end he was in the habit of introducing to her notice any such that came his way.
Keinginan terbesar pria tua terhormat itu adalah agar putrinya menikah dengan pria kaya dan murah hati yang bisa menjaganya tetap makmur di sisa hidupnya. Dan untuk itu, ia terbiasa memperkenalkan putrinya pada siapapun yang dianggap layak.
There was no question of coercing Ruth.
Tak ada niat memaksa Ruth.
He was too tender-hearted for that.
Ia terlalu lembut hati untuk itu. Lagi pula, ia tak bisa memaksa.
Ruth was not the sort of girl who is readily coerced.
Ruth bukan tipe gadis yang bisa dipaksa semudah itu.
He contented himself with giving her the opportunity to inspect his exhibits.
Ia cukup puas memberi putrinya kesempatan untuk menilai setiap pamerannya.
Rowville is a sociable place, and it was not unusual for him to make friends at the casino and to bring them home when made for a cigar.
Rowville adalah tempat yang suka bersosialisasi, dan bukan hal aneh baginya untuk berteman di kasino lalu mengajak mereka pulang untuk merokok cerutu.
Up to the present, he was bound to admit, his efforts had not been particularly successful.
Sejauh ini, ia harus mengakui, usahanya belum begitu sukses.
Ruth, he reflected sadly, was a curious girl.
Ruth, pikirnya sedih, adalah gadis yang aneh.
She did not show her best side to these visitors.
Ia tak menampilkan sisi terbaiknya pada tamu-tamu itu.
There was no encouragement in her manner.
Tak ada dorongan semangat dalam sikapnya.
She was apt to frighten the unfortunate exhibits.
Ia cenderung menakut-nakuti para pameran yang kurang beruntung itu.
But of this young man Vince he had brighter hopes.
Namun pada pemuda Vince ini, ia punya harapan lebih cerah.
Ia kaya. That was proved by the very handsome way in which he had behaved in the matter of a small loan when, looking in at the casino after parting from Ruth, he had found Mr. Warden in sore straits for want of a little capital to back a brand-new system which he had conceived through closely observing the run of the play.
Hal itu terbukti dari cara amat dermawan ia bersikap soal pinjaman kecil ketika, setelah berpisah dari Ruth, ia menemukan Tuan Warden dalam kesulitan akut karena kekurangan modal untuk mendukung sistem judi barunya, hasil pengamatan ketat alur permainan di kasino.
He was also obviously attracted by Ruth.
Ia juga jelas tertarik pada Ruth.
And as he was remarkably presentable, indeed quite an unusually good-looking young man, there seemed no reason why Ruth should not be equally attracted by him.
Dan karena ia terlihat sangat pantas, bahkan luar biasa tampan, tak ada alasan Ruth tak tertarik padanya.
The world looked good to Mr. Warden as he fell asleep that night.
Dunia tampak cerah bagi Tuan Warden saat ia tertidur malam itu.
Ruth did not fall asleep so easily.
Ruth tidak bisa tidur semudah itu.
The episode had disturbed her.
Peristiwa tadi mengusik dirinya.
A new element had entered her life, and one that gave promise of producing strange byproducts.
Sebuah unsur baru telah hadir di hidupnya, dan itu menjanjikan konsekuensi-konsekuensi yang aneh.
When, on the following evening, Ruth returned from the stroll on the promenade which she always took after leaving the Montepillet, with a feeling of irritation towards things in general, this feeling was not diminished by the sight of Mr. Vince, very much at his ease, standing against the mantelpiece of the tiny parlor.
Ketika, pada malam berikutnya, Ruth kembali dari jalan-jalan di promenade yang selalu dilakukannya setelah pulang dari pegadaian, dengan rasa kesal terhadap segala hal. Rasa itu tak berkurang saat melihat Tuan Vinci yang tampak sangat santai, berdiri di dekat perapian ruang tamu kecil itu.
"Apa kabar?" tanyanya. "By an extraordinary coincidence, I happened to be hanging about outside this house just now, when your father came along and invited me in to dinner."
Secara kebetulan luar biasa, saya tadi berdiri di luar rumah ini, ketika ayah Anda datang dan mengundang saya makan malam.
Have you ever thought much about coincidences, Miss Warden?
Pernahkah Anda memikirkan soal kebetulan, Nona Warden?
To my mind, they may be described as the zero on the roulette board of life.
Menurut saya, kebetulan itu bisa digambarkan sebagai nol di papan roulette kehidupan.
He regarded her fondly.
Ia memandang gadis itu dengan penuh rasa sayang.
For a shy man, conscious that the girl he loves is inspecting him closely and making up her mind about him, he proceeded, these unexpected meetings are very trying ordeals.
Bagi pria pemalu yang sadar bahwa gadis yang dicintainya sedang mengamatinya dengan cermat dan menilainya. Lanjutnya, pertemuan tak terduga ini adalah ujian berat.
You must not form your judgment of me too hastily.
Jangan terlalu cepat menilai saya.
You see me now, nervous, embarrassed, tongue-tied.
Anda melihat saya sekarang, gugup, malu, dan keluh.
But I am not always like this.
Tapi saya tidak selalu begini.
Beneath this crust of diffidence there is sterling stuff, Miss Warden.
Di balik lapisan malu ini ada hal berharga, Nona Warden.
People who know me have spoken of me as a little ray of sun, but here is your father.
Orang-orang yang mengenal saya pernah menyebut saya semacam cahaya kecil matahari, tapi itu dia ayah Anda datang.
Mr. Warden was more than usually disappointed with Ruth during dinner.
Zat makan malam, kekecewan tuan warden terhadap Ruth lebih besar daripada biasanya.
It was the same old story. So far from making herself pleasant to this attractive stranger, she seemed positively to dislike him.
Alih-alih bersikap ramah pada pendatang yang menarik ini, ia malah terlihat jelas tak menyukainya.
She was barely civil to him.
Ia nyaris tidak sopan padanya.
With a sigh, Mr. Warden told himself that he did not understand Ruth, and the rosy dreams he had formed began to fade.
Sambil menghela napas, Tuan Warden menyadari ia tak memahami Ruth, dan impian-impian indah yang ia ciptakan mulai sirna.
Ruth's ideas on the subject of Mr. Vince as the days went by were chaotic.
Pantangan Ruth tentang Tuan Vince seiring hari-hari berlalu menjadi kacau.
Though she told herself that she thoroughly objected to him, he had nevertheless begun to have an undeniable attraction for her.
Meski ia berkata pada dirinya sendiri bahwa ia sama sekali menolak pria itu, toh di sisi lain, ia mulai merasakan daya tarik yang tak terbantahkan.
In what this attraction consisted she could not say.
Ia tak bisa menjelaskan kenapa ia tertarik.
When she tried to analyze it, she came to the conclusion that it was due to the fact that he was the only element in her life that made for excitement.
Saat ia mencoba menganalisisnya, ia menyimpulkan bahwa semua itu karena pemuda tersebut adalah satu-satunya unsur dalam hidupnya yang membawa kegembiraan.
Since his advent, the days had certainly passed more swiftly for her.
Sejak kehadirannya, hari-harinya terasa lebih cepat berlalu.
The dead level of monotony had been broken.
Kebosanan yang mati itu telah pecah.
There was a certain fascination in exerting herself to suppress him, which increased daily as each attempt failed.
Ada semacam daya tarik dalam usahanya menekan pemuda itu, yang semakin meningkat setiap kali ia gagal.
Mr. Vince put this feeling into words for her.
Tuan Finch mengungkapkan perasaan itu dengan kata-kata untuknya.
He had a maddening habit of discussing the progress of his courtship in the manner of an impartial lecturer.
Ia punya kebiasaan menyebalkan untuk membahas perkembangan pendekatannya seolah dosen yang netral.
I am making headway, he observed.
Saya membuat kemajuan, ujarnya.
The fact that we cannot meet without your endeavoring to plant a temperamental left jab on my spiritual solar plexus encourages me to think that you are beginning at last to understand that we are affinities.
Kenyataan bahwa kita tak bisa bertemu tanpa Anda berusaha melancarkan pukulan kiri emosional ke ulu hati spiritual, membuat saya yakin bahwa Anda mulai memahami bahwa kita ini jodoh sejati.
To persons of spirit like ourselves, the only happy marriage is that which is based on a firm foundation of almost incessant quarreling.
Bagi pribadi bersemangat seperti kita, satu-satunya pernikahan bahagia adalah yang didasari pondasi kokoh dari pertengkaran yang hampir tiada henti.
The most beautiful line in English poetry, to my mind, is, "We fell out, my wife and I."
Baris paling indah dalam puisi berbahasa Inggris, menurut saya, adalah, kami bertengkar, aku dan istriku.
You would be wretched with a husband who didn't like you to quarrel with him.
Anda akan sengsara jika punya suami yang tak suka bertengkar dengan Anda.
The position of affairs now is that I have become necessary to you.
Keadaan sekarang adalah bahwa saya sudah menjadi orang yang Anda perlukan.
If I went out of your life now, I should leave an aching void.
Jika saya keluar dari hidup Anda sekarang, saya akan meninggalkan kekosongan yang menyakitkan.
You would still have that beautiful punch of yours, and there would be nobody to exercise it on.
Anda masih punya pukulan cantik Anda, tapi tak ada orang untuk menerimanya.
From now on matters should, I think, move rapidly.
Mulai sekarang, menurut saya, segalanya akan bergerak cepat.
During the course of the next week, I shall endeavor to propitiate you with gifts.
Dalam seminggu ke depan, saya akan berusaha melunakkan Anda dengan hadiah.
Here is the first of them.
Ini hadiah pertama.
He took a piece of paper from his pocket and handed it her.
Ia mengeluarkan selembar kertas dari saku dan menyerahkannya pada Ruth.
It was a pencil sketch, rough and unfinished, but wonderfully clever.
Itu adalah sketsa pensil, kasar dan belum selesai, tapi sangat cerdas.
Even Ruth could appreciate that, and she was a prejudiced observer, for the sketch was a caricature of herself.
Bahkan Ruth bisa menghargainya, padahal ia menilainya dengan keberpihakan negatif, sebab sketsa itu adalah karikatur dirinya.
It represented her, drawn up to her full height, with enormous, scornful eyes and curling lips, and the artist had managed to combine an excellent likeness while accentuating everything that was marked in what she knew had come to be her normal expression of scorn and discontent.
Gambar itu memperlihatkan dirinya dalam pose tegak, dengan mata besar dan penuh ejekan serta bibir yang mencibir, dan sang seniman mampu menciptakan kemiripan yang luar biasa sambil menonjolkan setiap ciri yang ia tahu kini menjadi ekspresi normalnya, rasa mencela dan tak puas.
I didn't know you were an artist, Mr. Vince, she said, handing it back.
Saya tidak tahu Anda seorang seniman, Tuan Vince, katanya, sambil mengembalikan gambar itu.
Pur amateur. Nothing more.
Hanya amatir biasa.
Tidak lebih. Yumai KPT.
Anda boleh menyimpannya.
I have not the slightest wish to keep it.
Saya sama sekali tak ingin menyimpannya.
You haven't.
Benarkah?
It is not in the least clever, and it is very impertinent of you to show it to me.
Itu tidak cerdas sama sekali, dan Anda sangat lancang memperlihatkannya pada saya.
The drawing is not funny.
Gambarnya tidak lucu.
It is simply rude.
Itu hanya kasar saja.
A little more, said Mr. Vince, and I shall begin to think you don't like it.
Sedikit lagi, kata Tuan Finch, dan saya akan berpikir Anda benar-benar tidak suka. Apakah Anda suka coklat?
Ruth did not answer.
Ruth tidak menjawab.
I am sending you some tomorrow.
Saya akan mengirimkannya besok.
I shall return them.
Saya akan mengembalikannya.
Then I shall send some more, and some fruit.
Kalau begitu saya akan mengirim lebih banyak, dan juga buah-buahan.
Gifts, soliloquized Mr. Vince. Hadiah, gummed Tuan Vince. Gifts. That is the secret.
Hadiah. Itulah kuncinya.
Keep sending gifts.
Terus kirim hadiah.
If men would only stick to gifts and quarreling, there would be fewer bachelors.
Kalau pria hanya fokus pada hadiah dan pertengkaran, jumlah lajang akan lebih sedikit.
On the morrow, as promised, the chocolates arrived, many pounds of them in a lordly box.
Keesokan harinya, sesuai janji, coklat itu datang, berkilo-kilo dalam kotak mewah.
The bludgeoning of fate had not wholly scotched in Ruth a human weakness for sweets, and it was with a distinct effort that she wrapped the box up again and returned it to the sender.
Tekanan nasib belum sepenuhnya melenyapkan kelemahan manusiawi Ruth terhadap makanan manis, dan dengan usaha keras ia membungkus kembali kotak itu dan mengirimnya kembali pada si pengirim.
She went off to her work at the Montepilot with a glow of satisfaction which comes to those who exhibit an iron will in trying circumstances.
Ia berangkat bekerja ke Pegadaian dengan rasa puas yang muncul pada orang yang menunjukkan kemauan baja di tengah situasi sulit.
And at the Montepilot there occurred a surprising incident.
Dan di Pegadaian itu terjadi sebuah insiden mengejutkan.
Surprising incidents, as Mr. Vince would have said, are the zero on the roulette board of life.
Kejadian mengejutkan, seperti kata Tuan Vince, adalah nol di papan roulette kehidupan.
They pop up disturbingly when least expected, confusing the mind and altering preconceived opinions.
Mereka muncul mengusik ketika paling tidak diduga, membingungkan pikiran dan mengubah pendapat yang sudah terbentuk.
And this was a very surprising incident indeed.
Dan insiden ini benar-benar sangat mengejutkan.
Ruth, as has been stated, sat during her hours of work behind a ground glass screen, unseen and unseeing.
Seperti dikatakan sebelumnya, Ruth selama jam kerja duduk di balik kaca buram, tidak tampak dan tidak melihat.
To her the patrons of the establishment were mere disembodied voices, wheedling voices, pathetic voices, voices that protested, voices that hectored, voices that whined, moaned, broke, appealed to the saints, and in various other ways endeavored to instill into M. Gandinot more spacious and princely views on the subject of advancing money on property pledged.
Baginya, para pelanggan lembaga itu hanyalah suara-suara tanpa wujud, yang membujuk, menyedihkan, protes, menggurui, merintih, meratap, terisak, memanggil para santo, dan dengan berbagai cara berusaha membuat M. Gandinot lebih lapang dan murah hati soal uang yang dipinjamkan dengan jaminan barang.
She was sitting behind her screen this morning, scribbling idly on the blotting pad, for there had been a lull in the business, when the door opened and the polite, "Bonjour, monsieur" of M. Gandinot announced the arrival of another unfortunate.
Pagi itu ia duduk di balik kacanya, mencoret-coret di alas tulis, karena bisnis sedang sepi, ketika pintu terbuka, dan sapaan sopan, "Bonjour, Monsieur," dari M. Gandinot menandakan kedatangan seseorang yang malang lainnya.
And then, shaking her like an electric shock, came a voice that she knew, the pleasant voice of Mr. Vince.
Lalu, mengguncangnya bak sengatan listrik, terdengar suara yang dikenalnya, suara ramah Tuan Finch.
The dialogues that took place on the other side of the screen were often protracted and always sordid, but none had seemed to Ruth so interminable, so hideously sordid as this one.
Percakapan di balik kaca itu sering panjang dan selalu kumuh, tetapi tak ada yang terasa bagi Ruth begitu tak berujung dan mengerikan seperti kali ini.
Round and round its miserable center, a silver cigarette case, the dreary argument circled.
Teros perputade I pusat kemalangan, zebua kotak rokok perak, perdebatan menyedihkan itu berulang-ulang dibicarakan.
The young man pleaded, M. Gandinot, adamant in his official role, was immovable.
Sang pemuda memohon, M. Gandinot, keras hati dalam peran resminya, tak tergoyahkan.
Ruth could bear it no longer.
Ruth tak bisa menahannya lagi.
She pressed her hands over her burning ears, and the voices ceased to trouble her.
Ia menutup kedua telinganya yang terasa panas, dan tak lagi mendengar suara itu.
And with the silence came thought, and a blaze of understanding that flashed upon her and made all things clear.
Dengan keheningan itu, muncullah pikiran, dan kilatan pemahaman yang membuat segalanya jelas.
She understood now why she had closed her ears.
Ia kini paham kenapa ia menutup telinganya.
Poverty is an acid which reacts differently on differing natures.
Kemiskinan adalah asam yang bereaksi berbeda pada setiap orang.
It had reduced Mr. Eugene Warden's self-respect to a minimum. Hal itu telemenikan harga diri Tuan Eugene Warden sampai batas terendah. Ruth's it had reared up to an abnormal growth.
Sementara pada Ruth, malah tumbuh dengan cara tak biasa.
Her pride had become a weed that ran riot in her soul, darkening it and choking finer emotions.
Kesombongannya berubah menjadi gulma yang menguasai jiwanya, menggelapkannya dan menyesakkan emosi-emosi halusnya.
Perhaps it was her father's naive stratagems for the enmeshing of a wealthy husband that had produced in her at last a morbid antipathy to the idea of playing beggar-maid to any man's King Cophetua.
Mungkin strategi naif ayahnya untuk menjebak suami kaya yang akhirnya memunculkan antipati mendalam dalam dirinya pada gagasan berperan sebagai si gadis miskin bagi setiap raja Cophetua.
The state of mind is intelligible.
Keadaan pikiran itu bisa dimengerti.
The Cophetua legend never has been told from the beggar-maid's point of view, and there must have been moments when, if a woman of spirit, she resented that monarch's somewhat condescending attitude, and felt that, secure in his wealth and magnificence, he had taken her grateful acquiescence very much for granted.
Legenda Cophetua tak pernah diceritakan dari sudut pandang si gadis miskin, dan pasti ada saat-saat ketika, jika ia seorang perempuan dengan harga diri, ia membenci sikap agak merendahkan sang raja, dan merasa bahwa, dalam kenyamanan kekayaan dan kemegahannya, raja itu menganggap persetujuannya sebagai hal yang pasti.
This, she saw now, was what had prejudiced her against George Vince.
Inilah, ia sadari sekarang, yang telah membuatnya antipati terhadap George Vince.
She had assumed that he was rich.
Ia mengira pemuda itu kaya.
He had conveyed the impression of being rich.
Sikapnya pun seolah orang kaya.
And she had been on the defensive against him accordingly.
Karena itu ia bersikap defensif.
Now for the first time, she seemed to know him.
Kini, untuk pertama kalinya, ia merasa mengenalnya.
A barrier had been broken down.
Sebuah penghalang telah runtuh.
The royal robes had proved tinsel, and no longer disguised the man she loved.
Jubah kerajaan itu ternyata hanya hiasan palsu, dan tak lagi menutupi pria yang dicintainya.
A touch on her arm aroused her.
Sentuhan di lengannya membuatnya kembali sadar.
Gandinot was standing by her side.
Gandinot berdiri di sisinya.
Terms, apparently, had been agreed upon and the interview concluded, for in his hand was a silver cigarette case.
Tampaknya kesepakatan telah dicapai dan wawancara berakhir, karena di tangannya tergenggam kotak rokok perak.
Dreaming, mademoiselle?
Menghayal, Nona?
I could not make you hear.
Saya tak bisa membuat Anda mendengar panggilan saya.
The more I called to you, the more you did not answer.
Semakin saya memanggil, semakin Anda tidak menjawab.
It is necessary to enter this loan.
Kita perlu mencatat pinjaman ini.
He recited the details, and Ruth entered them in her ledger.
Ia menyebutkan detailnya dan Ruth mencatatnya di buku besar.
This done, Gandinot, doffing his official self, sighed.
Selesai itu, Gandinot menanggalkan sikap resminya, mendesah.
It is a place of much sorrow, mademoiselle, this office.
Ini adalah tempat penuh kesedihan, Nona, kantor ini.
How he would not take no for an answer, that young man, recently departed.
Lihatlah bagaimana pemuda itu, yang baru saja pergi, tak mau menerima jawaban, tidak.
A fellow countryman of yours, Mademoiselle.
Sebangsa dengan Anda, Nona.
You would say, what does this young man, so well dressed, in a Montepillet?
Anda pasti heran, apa yang dilakukan pemuda berpakaian bagus di Pegadaian.
But I know better, I, Gandinot.
Tapi saya lebih tahu, saya, Gandinot.
You have an expression, you English, I heard it in Paris in a cafe, and inquired its meaning, when you say of a man that he swanks.
Kalian punya ungkapan dalam bahasa Inggris. Saya dengar di Paris di sebuah kafe, dan saya cari maknanya, saat kalian bilang seseorang itu, swanks, bergaya pamer.
How many young men have I seen here, admirably dressed, rich, you would say.
Betapa banyak pemuda sudah saya lihat di sini, berpakaian menawan, kita pikir kaya.
No. The Montepillet permits no secrets.
Pegadaian tidak membiarkan rahasia apapun. Pamer, Nona, apa artinya?
To deceive the world, yes.
Menipu dunia, benar.
But not the Montepillet.
Tapi tidak Pegadaian.
Yesterday also, when you had departed, was he here, that young man?
Kemarin juga, setelah Anda pulang, pemuda itu datang ke sini.
Yet here he is once more today.
Den hari ini dia datang lagi.
He spends his money quickly, alas. That poor young swunker.
Dia menghabiskan uangnya dengan cepat. Sayang sekali. Si pemuda pamer yang malang itu.
When Ruth returned home that evening, she found her father in the sitting room, smoking a cigarette.
Ketika Ruth pulang malam itu, ia mendapati ayahnya di ruang duduk, sedang merokok.
He greeted her with effusion, but with some uneasiness, for the old gentleman had nerved himself to a delicate task.
Ia menyapa Ruth dengan hangat, namun disertai kegelisahan, karena pria tua itu telah membulatkan tekad untuk tugas yang sensitif.
He had made up his mind tonight to speak seriously to Ruth on the subject of her unsatisfactory behavior to Mr. Vince.
Ia telah memutuskan malam ini untuk berbicara serius dengan Ruth soal sikapnya yang tak memuaskan terhadap Tuan Vince.
The more he saw of that young man, the more positive was he that this was the human gold mine for which he had been searching all these weary years.
Semakin banyak ia melihat pemuda itu, semakin yakin ia bahwa inilah tambang emas manusia yang dicarinya selama bertahun-tahun.
Accordingly, he threw away his cigarette, kissed Ruth on the forehead, and began to speak.
Karena itu, ia membuang rokoknya, mencium dahi Ruth, dan mulai berbicara.
It had long been Mr. Warden's opinion that, if his daughter had a fault, it was a tendency towards a quite unnecessary and highly inconvenient frankness.
Sudah lama Tuan Warden berpendapat bahwa jika putrinya punya kekurangan, itu adalah kecenderungan pada keterus-terangan yang tak perlu dan sangat merepotkan.
She had not that tact which he would have liked a daughter of his to possess.
Ia tidak punya kecakapan diplomasi yang diinginkan ayahnya.
She would not evade, ignore, agree not to see.
Ia tak mau menghindar, mengabaikan, atau pura-pura tak melihat.
She was at times painfully blunt.
Kadang ia bisa sangat blak-blakan hingga menyakitkan.
He was warming to his subject when she interrupted him with a question.
Ia sedang memulai pembicaraan saat Ruth memotongnya dengan sebuah pertanyaan.
What makes you think Mr. Vince is rich, father? She asked.
Apa yang membuatmu berpikir Tuan Vince itu kaya, ayah?
Tanyanya. Mr. Warden was embarrassed.
Tuan Warden merasa malu.
The subject of Mr. Vince's opulence had not entered into his discourse. Sol kakayan Tuan Vince tidak mungkil dalam pembicaranya. He had carefully avoided it.
Ia sengaja menghindarinya.
The fact that he was thinking of it, and that Ruth knew that he was thinking of it, and that he knew that Ruth knew, had nothing to do with the case.
Kenyataan bahwa ia memikirkannya dan Ruth tahu ia memikirkannya, serta bahwa ia tahu Ruth pun tahu, tidak relevan dengan pembicaraan.
The question was not in order, and it embarrassed him.
Pertanyaan itu tidak pada tempatnya, dan membuatnya malu.
I never said he was rich, my dear.
Kenapa, saya tak pernah bilang dia kaya, Sayang.
I have no doubt that he has ample.
Saya tak ragu dia punya cukup.
He is quite poor.
Dia sebenarnya miskin.
Mr. Warden's jaw fell slightly.
Rahang tuan waren turun sedikit.
Poor?
Miskin?
But my dear, that's absurd.
Tapi, sayang, itu konyol.
Why, only this evening.
Padahal baru saja malam ini.
He broke off abruptly, but it was too late.
Ia terhenti tiba-tiba, tapi sudah terlambat.
Father, you've been borrowing money from him.
Ayah meminjam uang darinya.
Mr. Warden drew in his breath, preparatory to an indignant denial, but he altered his mind and remained silent.
Tuan Warden menarik napas, bersiap menyangkal dengan marah, tapi ia berubah pikiran dan tetap diam.
As a borrower of money, he had every quality but one.
Sebagai peminjam uang, ia punya segala sifat kecuali satu.
He had come to look on her perspicacity in this matter as a sort of second sight.
Ia sudah menyadari ketajaman putrinya dalam hal ini seperti kemampuan mata batin.
It had frequently gone far to spoiling for him the triumph of success.
Seringkali hal itu merusak kenikmatan keberhasilannya.
And he has to pawn things to live. Her voice trembled.
Dan dia harus menggadaikan barang untuk hidup. Suara Ruth bergetar.
He was at the Montepillet today.
Dan kemarin juga.
He was arguing with M.
Gandino, haggling.
Dia berdebat dengan M.
Gandinot, tawar-menawar.
Suaranya patah.
She was sobbing helplessly.
Ia terisak tanpa daya.
The memory of it was too raw and vivid.
Kenangan itu terlalu segar dan nyata. Waren stot motionless.
Tuan Warden berdiri kaku.
Many emotions raced through his mind, but chief among them the thought that this revelation had come at a very fortunate time.
Banyak emosi berkecamuk di benaknya, tapi yang utama adalah pikiran bahwa pengungkapan ini datang di waktu yang sangat tepat.
An exceedingly lucky escape, he felt.
Ia merasa ini pelarian yang amat beruntung.
He was aware, also, of a certain measure of indignation against this deceitful young man who had fraudulently imitated a gold mine with what might have been disastrous results.
Ia juga merasakan kemarahan pada pemuda menipu ini yang telah berpura-pura menjadi tambang emas dan bisa saja berakibat fatal.
The door opened and Jean, the maid of all work, announced Mr. Vince.
Pintu terbuka dan Jean, pelayan segala pakaian, mengumumkan kedatangan Tuan Vince.
He entered the room briskly.
Ia memasuki ruangan dengan sigap.
Good evening, he said.
Selamat malam, katanya.
Ada apa ini?
I have brought you some more chocolates, Miss Warden, and some fruit.
Saya membawakan Anda lebih banyak coklat, Nona Warden, dan beberapa buah.
Great Scott!
Astaga!
What's the matter? He stopped, but only for an instant.
Ia berhenti, tapi hanya sedetik.
The next he had darted across the room, and before the horrified eyes of Mr. Warden, was holding Ruth in his arms.
Detik berikutnya ia melesat melintasi ruangan, dan di hadapan mata Tuan Warden yang terbelalak, ia memeluk Ruth.
She clung to him.
Ruth merapat padanya.
Bill the fox terrier, over whom Mr. Vince had happened to stumble, was the first to speak.
Bill, the fox terrier, yang kebetulan terinjak oleh Tuan Vince, menjadi yang pertama bersuara.
Almost simultaneously Mr. Warden joined in, and there was a striking similarity between the two voices, for Mr. Warden, searching for words, emitted as a preliminary to them a sort of passionate yelp.
Hampir bersamaan Tuan Warden ikut bicara, dan ada kemiripan mencolok antara dua suara itu, karena Tuan Warden, yang bingung merangkai kata, mengeluarkan semacam pekikan emosional sebagai awalnya.
Mr. Vince removed the hand that was patting Ruth's shoulder and waved it reassuringly at him.
Tuan Vince melepaskan tangan yang menepuk pundak Ruth dan melambai meyakinkan ke arahnya.
Affinities, explained Mr. Vince over his shoulder. Two hearts that beat as one.
Dua hati yang berdenyut jadi satu.
We're going to be married.
Kami akan menikah.
Vad semata, dia? Ada apa, sayang? Don't you worry, you're all right.
Jangan khawatir, Anda baik-baik saja.
I refuse, shouted Mr. Warden.
Saya menolak, teriak Tuan Warden.
I absolutely refuse.
Saya benar-benar menolak.
Mr. Vince lowered Ruth gently into a chair and, holding her hand, inspected the fermenting old gentleman gravely.
Tuan Finch menurunkan Ruth dengan lembut ke kursi dan, sambil menggenggam tangannya, menatap serius pria tua yang bergolak itu.
Menolak, katanya. Why, I thought you liked me.
Kenapa? Saya kira Anda menyukai saya.
Mr. Warden's frenzy had cooled.
Kegusaran Tuan Warden telah mereda.
It had been something foreign to his nature. Itu bukanlah kebiasaannya. He regretted it.
Ia menyesali hal itu.
These things had to be managed with restraint. Hal-hal ini harus diatur dengan pengendalian diri. My personal likes and dislikes, he said, have nothing to do with the matter, Mr. Vince.
Soal apakah saya suka atau tidak, katanya, tak ada hubungannya di sini, Tuan Vince.
They are beside the point.
Itu di luar pokok.
I have my daughter to consider.
Saya harus memikirkan putri saya.
Quite right, said Mr. Vince, approvingly.
Jangan beri dia kesempatan.
Mr. Warden hesitated.
Tuan Warden ragu.
I cannot allow her to marry a man without a penny.
Saya tidak bisa membiarkannya menikah dengan pria yang tak punya uang. Tepat sekali, kata Tuan Finch, menyetujui.
Don't have anything to do with the fellow. If he tries to butt in, send for the police.
Kalau dia mencoba mendekat, panggil polisi.
He had always been a little ashamed of Ruth's occupation.
Ia selalu sedikit malu dengan pekerjaan Ruth.
But necessity compelled.
Tapi kebutuhan memaksanya.
Mr. Vince, my daughter is employed at the Montepilot, and was a witness to all that took place this afternoon.
Tuan Finch, putri saya bekerja di Pegadaian, dan ia menjadi saksi dari kejadian siang ini.
Mr. Vince was genuinely agitated.
Tuan Vince benar-benar terkejut.
He looked at Ruth, his face full of concern.
Ia memandang Ruth, raut wajahnya cemas.
You don't mean to say you have been slaving away in that stuffy, Great Scott.
Jangan bilang Anda bekerja di sana, di tempat sumpah itu. Astaga!
I'll have you out of that quick.
Saya akan segera menarik Anda dari sana.
You mustn't go there again.
Anda tak boleh ke sana lagi.
He stooped and kissed her.
Ia menunduk dan menciumnya.
Perhaps you had better let me explain, he said.
Mungkin lebih baik saya jelaskan, katanya.
Explanations, I always think, are the zero on the roulette board of life.
Penjelasan, menurut saya, adalah nol di papan roulette kehidupan.
They're always somewhere about, waiting to pop up.
Mereka selalu ada di sekitar, menunggu untuk muncul.
Have you ever heard of Vince's Stores, Mr. Warden? Apakah Anda pernah mendengar Vince's Stores, Tuan Warden?
Perhaps they are since your time.
Mungkin itu sesudah zaman Anda.
Well, my father is the proprietor.
Nah, ayah saya pemiliknya.
One of our specialties is children's toys, but we haven't picked a real winner for years, and my father when I last saw him seemed so distressed about it that I said I'd see if I couldn't whack out an idea for something.
Salah satu keahlian kami adalah mainan anak-anak, tapi sudah bertahun-tahun kami tak menemukan produk benar-benar laris, dan terakhir kali saya melihat ayah, ia tampak sangat cemas hingga saya bilang saya akan coba cari ide untuk sebuah produk.
Something on the lines of the Billiken, only better, was what he felt he needed.
yang mirip Billy Ken, tapi lebih baik, itulah yang dia rasa dibutuhkan.
I'm not used to brain work, and after a spell of it, I felt I wanted a rest.
Saya tidak terbiasa berpikir keras, dan setelah beberapa lama, saya merasa butuh istirahat.
I came here to recuperate, and the very first morning I got an inspiration.
Saya datang ke sini untuk memulihkan diri, dan di pagi pertama, saya mendapatkan inspirasi.
You may have noticed that the manager of the Montepilot here isn't strong on conventional good looks.
Anda mungkin memperhatikan bahwa pengelola pegadaian di sini tidak dikaruniai wajah rupawan.
I saw him at the casino, and the thing flashed on me.
Saya melihatnya di kasino, dan ide itu langsung terlintas.
He thinks his name's Gandinot, but it isn't. Dia mengira namanya Gandino, tapi bukan. It's Uncle Zip, the hump curer, the man who makes you smile.
Namanya adalah Paman Zip, si penyembuh bungkuk, pria yang membuatmu tersenyum.
He pressed Ruth's hand affectionately.
Ia menggenggam tangan Ruth dengan sayang.
I lost track of him, and it was only the day before yesterday that I discovered who he was and where he was to be found.
Saya sempat kehilangan jejaknya, dan baru 2 hari lalu saya menemukan siapa dia dan di mana bisa menemukannya.
Well, you can't go up to a man and ask him to pose as a model for Uncle Zip, the hump curer.
Nah, Anda tak bisa serta-merta menghampiri orang dan memintanya menjadi model Paman Zip, si penyembuh bungkuk.
The only way to get sittings was to approach him in the way of business.
Satu-satunya cara untuk mendapatkan sesi bergambar adalah dengan mendekatinya secara bisnis.
So I collected what property I had and waded in.
Jadi saya kumpulkan barang-barang yang saya punya dan mulai beraksi.
That's the whole story.
Itulah cerita lengkapnya. Apakah saya lolos?
Mr. Warden's frosty demeanor had gradually thawed during this recital, and now the sun of his smile shone out warmly.
Sikap dingin Tuan Warden perlahan melunak selama cerita itu, dan kini senyumannya bersinar hangat.
He gripped Mr. Vince's hand with every evidence of esteem, and after that he did what was certainly the best thing, by passing gently from the room.
Ia menjabat tangan Tuan Vince dengan penuh hormat, lalu melakukan hal terbaik, perlahan meninggalkan ruangan.
On his face, as he went, was a look such as Moses might have worn on the summit of Pisgah.
Di wajahnya saat ia pergi, terpancar ekspresi yang mungkin serupa milik Musa di puncak Pisgah.
It was some 20 minutes later that Ruth made a remark.
Sekitar 20 menit kemudian, Ruth mengucapkan sesuatu.
I want you to promise me something, she said.
Saya ingin Anda berjanji sesuatu, katanya.
Promise that you won't go on with that Uncle Zip drawing.
Berjanjilah Anda tidak akan melanjutkan gambar Paman Zip itu.
I know it means ever so much money, but it might hurt poor M. Gandinot's feelings, and he has been very kind to me.
Saya tahu itu berarti sangat banyak uang, tapi bisa melukai perasaan M. Gandinot yang malang, dan dia telah sangat baik pada saya.
That settles it, said Mr. Vince.
Itu sudah cukup, kata Tuan Vince.
It's hard on the children of Great Britain, but say no more.
Kasihan anak-anak Inggris, tapi tak perlu dibahas lagi.
Ruth looked at him, almost with awe.
Ruth memandangnya, hampir dengan rasa kagum.
You really won't go on with it?
Anda benar-benar tidak akan melanjutkannya?
In spite of all the money you would make?
Padahal Anda bisa dapat begitu banyak uang?
Are you always going to do just what I ask you, no matter what it costs you?
Apakah Anda akan selalu melakukan apapun yang saya minta, tak peduli biayanya?
He nodded sadly.
Ia mengangguk sedih.
You have sketched out in a few words the whole policy of my married life.
Anda baru saja merumuskan kebijakan seluruh hidup pernikahan saya dengan beberapa kata.
I feel an awful fraud.
Saya merasa jadi penipu besar.
And I had encouraged you to look forward to years of incessant quarreling.
Padahal saya sempat mengajak Anda bersiap menghadapi tahun-tahun pertengkaran tanpa henti.
Do you think you can manage without it?
Apakah Anda sanggup tanpa hal itu?
I'm afraid it's going to be shockingly dull for you, said Mr. Vince, regretfully.
Saya khawatir ini akan membuat Anda bosan sekali, kata Tuan Finch, menyesal.
The end. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe for more bilingual stories. Check our playlist section to find optimal listening material for your language learning. We wish you a wonderful day.